my name is Johnna. I am a coach. I work with individuals to help them feel comfortable and confident in their own skin. And this is Makeup and Mental Health Mondays. So every Monday I sit down and I talk about a different component of mental health while I do makeup. So if you're interested in either of those, please do subscribe. The conversation continues in the comments, so make sure to comment anything that resonates with you or that you feel so inclined to share. Also, all the products that I will be using will be listed in the description box below. And last week we spoke about how to love yourself, hashtag self-love and self-care, huge buzzwords. So check those out. If you are interested in learning more about that, I'll put the link below. And this week I'm going to be talking about healthy relationships. What are they? What do they look like? And how do we make sure that we are co-creating them in our own lives? So without further ado, let's get right into it. Oh, hi. If I look a lot different since the last time we saw each other, it's because the camera cut off. So to honor your time and to honor my face, what I'm going to do is just take it from the top with the message, what we were talking about, and keep on keeping on with the makeup. So that's why I look a little crazy right now. But don't mind that. We'll fix this. Before I get into talking about what a healthy relationship looks like, I want to talk about what a relationship is. So a relationship is defined as any connection between two concepts, whether it be a theory, an experience, or a person. And this week I want to focus on what a healthy relationship looks like when it comes to our relationship with others and our experiences and the things that we think, so that we can have a good understanding of what that is, what that looks like, and so that we can relate it back to the most important relationship that we have, which is our relationship with, guess what? If you've been listening to me for like 5 minutes, you know this, yourself. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I don't even know where I put the brush. Like, goodness. All right, we'll just fucking get another one. So that's what we're going to be focusing on today. And, you already knew that. Anyway, so when it comes to what a healthy relationship looks like, it is something that looks different for different people. It is something that, can change over time. But there are some key characteristics that healthy relationships do have in common. And so those three characteristics are that you're able to comfortably be yourself and speak your truth. I don't know where the brush went, so we're just going to use a new one. You are supported in a way that best serves you to be your best self, and that there's an equal exchange of give and take in that relationship. So, oh my God, I found it. Hooray. So, taking it from the top, you're comfortable in your relationship with that person. You're able to be yourself. We talked about that a few weeks ago. Like, when are you most comfortable to be being you? And when are you more of like your pseudo self? You're like wearing kind of a hat. Like, you're still you, but like it's not quite like the full version. Like, you're holding back like just a little bit, which it's fine. It happens. But who wants to do that all the time? It's exhausting. So healthy relationships are ones where you can be your full self unapologetically. In terms of you being supported in the way that best serves you, it's a situation where that relationship is one that lifts you up and serves your highest good. It's not one of those like, oh, well, you did this and that, isn't right because you hurt my feelings. Like, yes, like, let's talk about it if I hurt your feelings, but it's not done in like a condescending, like, way of condemning. It's done in a more like curious manner where you are speaking to understand the other person instead of speaking to, just get your point across. And that goes into having a healthy relationship because, while, yeah, like, it's important, like, let's have a conversation about it, don't be passive aggressive, it's also one where the two of you are looking to come from a place of curiosity and arrive at a place of mutual understanding. The third characteristic was playing into that, that is something that is of equal give and take. And in that sense, you want to make sure that when you are in these relationships that we are often in, that it's one where we are equal contributors, that we're not being taken advantage of. We're not always the one doing the labor, and by labor I mean all the work, whether that be emotional, whether that be like financial, whether that be always making like the physical effort, like, well, I always drive to see them, whatever the case may be. It's a situation where both parties are committed to, participating and ensuring that you're not alone, that you feel that you are getting out of the relationship what you're putting into it. So those are the three main characteristics that healthy relationships typically have. And as we move through what I'm going to talk about today, I want you to consider what a healthy relationship looks like for you. And like I said, it might be different than what it looks like for the person beside of you, for your friend, but you need to have a good understanding of what it looks like, because that way, how else are you going to know you're in one? So, when it comes to relationships, like, why does it even matter? Like, why do we need these relationships? Like, who cares, really? Right? Like, I mean, if I'm an introvert, like, so why not just, like, be okay with myself, by myself? Like, I'm good, Why does it matter? And on a biological level, on a primal level, when we were trying to survive as a species, having these relationships with different, tribes and different people, it helps to ensure our survival in the sense that we were able to share information. We were able to share, like, hey, there's a big, like, wildebeest, or like, what the fuck ever, like, over up on the horizon. Hey, like, we've got some good crops. Like, hey, like, whatever the case may be. And so in that sense, it was good for us on a level of, just making it through, just surviving. Now it's a bit different, but those same concepts are still present and ingrained in us as, our way of operating. And so it's important that we cultivate these relationships, because while we're not out, tracking wildebeest necessarily, I mean, maybe you are, like, I don't know your life, but while that's not necessarily something that we must do now as a means of survival, these kinds of relationships and even gossip, it adapted from, sharing information about, like, hey, like, this person can be trusted, like, that person can't. And, that's why it comes so, like, natural to us whenever we find ourselves in, like, gossip and, like, saying these things. It's because, like, it's deeply ingrained. Like, that's how we learned how to survive. Like, this is in our genetic code, if you will. So, two of the main reasons, other than, primal survival, being like ingrained in us, why relationships are so important. Number one, because it provides support. And that plays into, like, what I was saying about the survival. It provides support, whether it be emotional, whether it be physical, whether it be intellectual. You know that someone else is there. And that kind of support, it helps you feel like you're not alone, and that, there's, like, life worth living, if you will. And so in that sense, it serves as, like, we're all in this together. Like, I can't give up. Like, you can't give up. Like, we're going to keep on keeping on, because by goodness, like, we're all here, kind of thing. Also, that was the also, that ensures that we're not alone. I, like, spilled the beans before we got there. But yeah, so providing support, ensuring that we're not alone. So that is why these relationships are so important. And I mean, I'm able to just, like, riffle that off, but, like, that's some really impactful shit, like having someone who is emotionally there for you when you've had a rough day, or when you need to talk through a situation, and having someone who is physically there for you when you need that physical connection, like that touch, when you need, like, a hug or something like that. and having someone who is there for you intellectually to share information that might result in your survival, and that can like help you better yourself and like grow as a person, like, yeah, that's important. That's some important shit. And it's something that we're like, oh yeah, like I have a friend and they're great, but we don't actually stop and think about all the benefits that they afford us, you know? So, yeah, that's some of the reasons why, or two of the main reasons why it is so important to have these different relationships that are healthy. And so with that being said, it's that time. I'm going to do my liner. I'm going to come back, and then I'm going to talk. I'm probably just going to finish all this up because I think I'm getting distracted. And then I'm going to come back and talk about how we actually cultivate these healthy relationships. So, BRB. Hi. Okay. And we're back. I finished up, like, everything because I've been gone for a minute. So, sidebar. Every Tuesday, my friend Nikki from Red Cheetah Yoga and I get together for about an hour or so on Instagram Live, and we talk about a different topic for the week. And so this week we spoke about gender roles, and so I actually went and did that during our little intermission. But we're back now, and I'm going to wrap it up because we were having a conversation first, and I've like finished all of this for you. And so now, yeah, we're going to wrap it up and talk about how we can incorporate some tools and techniques and really co-create healthy relationships in our own lives. So I have notes. If you see me looking down, that's what I'm doing. Full transparency, I'm letting you know. So the first thing that we can do is communicate. We don't know what we don't know. And it's important to let people know what you need and ask for what they need so that you can ensure that you're supporting them in a way that best serves them. And one of the things that I have brought into my life and that I suggest everyone bring into their lives is whenever someone comes to you with a complaint or a situation or like they seemingly like want to vent, instead of going into, bashing the situation or trying to fix the situation, the problem, if you will, ask that person how you can best support them right now. Instead of like, yeah, like screw that guy, or yeah, like that was so wrong, or that's a really bad situation, like, oh, like I know how you feel. Pause and ask them what you could do, how you can best support them right now. And that is transformative in relationships. It has been for me, it has been for my clients, it has been for people that I have introduced this tool to. Just really getting present to what they need. And, they might tell you what they need, and you might be like, no, that ain't what you need. But, that's what they're telling you. And through this practice, like, they are going to take that time to pause and consider, hey, what do I need? And they're going to be able to tell you that. So sometimes what we think others need might not be what they actually need. So that's a practice that I love for so many different reasons. And also because it really helps you show up as the support that they best need. Even if we find out later, like something else might have better served them, you were there for them in the time and in the moment, like how they asked you to be. So that's something that I like to suggest that everyone try. When you are having these healthy relationships and co-creating them, a lot of times too, that means that there must be some compromise. So communicate was the first tool, technique, consideration, and compromise is the second. And so, yeah, like compromise, like so fun, right? You would like, it would be great if we all got along, but sometimes our way means that we might have to package things a little bit differently. And with that being said, know that you won't compromise on certain things that are like your non-negotiables, right? Like, know what you're willing to do. Know when you are willing to say like, yeah, like I hear you, but that's not something that I'm willing to do. And be okay with that, because again, healthy relationships, that's going to be someone that respects that boundary. And if that is something that they're like, hey, well, non-negotiable, like that's something that I really do need, then that might be a relationship that isn't going to best serve either party at that time. And I mean, that's a hard, uncomfortable truth, but sometimes that is the way that the cookie crumbles. Compromise doesn't mean that you aren't being true to yourself. That's something that I also like to note. It means that you're allowing yourself to play in the sandbox with you in a way that it's also, with others, in a way that is also healthy for you. So that is the second one. The third thing, be objective. And sometimes that means that how we think things aren't how others think that they are. And so before taking ownership for someone else's feelings, ask what's true for them. So kind of how I suggested earlier, you ask what the other person needs. In this case, instead of assuming that their experience is like your experience, ask them what things feel like, what things look like, how they are experiencing it from their point of view. So be objective in the sense that, like, hey, like, you don't always know what the other person is going through. No matter how similar to your experience it might seem, it doesn't mean that it's expressing itself in the same way for them. The next thing is commit. So commit to being in this relationship for the long haul. Whenever you do that, that builds trust. And it's something that doesn't happen overnight. Trust is something that is built over time. I said it weird the first time. Trusts. Being in it for the long haul and this commitment and having these conversations build trust over time. If a relationship is important, then it's worth showing up for. And at the same time, if every time you show up, the same BS is happening again and again and again, then remember that the relationship with yourself is the most important. And ask yourself if you'd be better off just severing the tie, even if that is momentarily. There is no rule book for life. We have experiences of others that help us kind of navigate certain situations, and that goes into that connection, that healthy relationship, that communication. And at the same time, every experience is unique. So every experience deserves to be looked at and approached with that mentality. I'm a firm believer that a relationship dynamic is something that is very unique and specific to the parties involved. And it is up to them to determine what does and does not work for them. And it is also up to them, the parties involved, to communicate when any of that changes. And that is essentially what makes a relationship a healthy one. Knowing that what's true today won't always be true. I've said that before, I'll say it again. And just communicating where you are is really going to make all the difference in the long run. So last thing I want to note, language whenever you are having these conversations. So are you having these conversations in a situation where there's victim language? And that can be like in a relationship with yourself. That can be in a relationship or conversation with someone else. Oh, well, he or she like makes me feel this way. Well, what can I expect? Like, this is typical. Like, this always happens to me kind of thing. I can't do whatever because of this. If it wasn't for that, then I would be here or there. And there's nothing that I can do about like the situation. So those are from a very powerless place of victimhood, where we are putting the power and the assumption that this is true based on like whatever other factor we are assuming is against us. So be mindful of that. And also be mindful of false apologies when it comes to your relationship with others. And so what I mean by that is when people are like, oh, well, I'm sorry you felt that way. So they're not apologizing and owning the thing that they did. They're not, owning that, it could have been misinterpreted. They're apologizing that you felt some type of way about it. And that's not their business. Like, your business is to communicate it. So like, cool, thanks. Like, glad that you're, you feel bad, like you're sorry that I felt like shitty, but that doesn't mean that you're taking ownership for the way that you showed up, and that doesn't mean that's not going to happen again. It means that that person is putting the blame on your interpretation of it instead of acknowledging, hey, what can I do better? So be mindful of that. Another false apology is making light of the situation. So like, oh, well, I was just joking, like, it's no big deal, like, you can't take a joke. No, your feelings are valid. And if you express that to someone, in a healthy relationship, they are going to be very present to that, and they are going to want to know what they can do next time so that that doesn't happen again. Or they're going to want you to call them on it if it does happen again. Because who wants to make someone feel shitty? And not and making light of the situation, doesn't do anything. That again removes their responsibility in the partnership, in the relationship. The next is begrudgingly apologizing. So sometimes whenever people make false apologies, they just kind of do it like so that the conversation will be over, like, oh, fine, like, I'm sorry, like, I apologize, like, whatever. That also is disingenuous and insincere, because they're doing it again just to kind of like get out of the situation. Like, they're not owning what is happening. They're not having the conversation. They're not like doing the work, if you will. And then the last false apology is making excuses. So in that case, it's if a person comes to someone and says, hey, this bothered me because of A, B, C, and D, instead of saying, oh, I can see, why you felt that way. In the future, like, I'll try to, like, I apologize for my actions, like, I take ownership for that. In the future, I will try to do X, Y, and Z. Instead, whenever someone makes excuses, they're like, oh, well, that was because, like, I was busy, or, oh, that was because I was late, or whatever the case may be. Again, just own it. We're all humans. We're all figuring out this life thing together. And at the end of the day, we're all just walking each other home. So mistakes will be made. No relationship is perfect. And if anything, it is these little conflicts, these little misinterpretations, these miscommunications that actually help build resilience and make the relationship stronger. It's what builds trust over time. It's what gives us, something to like hold on to. It's what forms the fabric of the relationship. And so as uncomfortable as they may be, especially initially, it's important to have them, because that's how we're going to get to know that person. That's how we're going to build with that person. And that's how we are going to be more comfortable and confident being our most authentic self with that person. See what I'm doing there? See where I'm going? See where I'm going? Cool. So that's all I have for you this week. Thank you for watching. And I will see you next week when I'm talking about boundaries. So what are they? Why are they important? How do we create them? And how do we stick to them? And something that a lot of people don't talk about, how other people respond once we create those boundaries and start to make sure that we are upholding them after we haven't ever done that before. And I think that that's very important to know and be present to, because it's not something that's spoken about a lot, and it's not something that people are prepared for a lot of times whenever they start like creating these boundaries for themselves. So tune in next week if you are interested in that, and I will be talking all about it. Until then, stay safe, take care, and may you have a day that you most certainly deserve. Bye.